Um, all right. Well, look, thanks for the introduction, Stephen. It's fabulous to be able to have the opportunity to explore this. In my paper, I was interested in, as a practitioner in digital theological space, experimenting with digital community in real time. I was interested in the idea of whether or not the use of AI might be a mirror dimly reflecting its creator, a disruptor defying creation, or a co-creator enhancing creativity. And so I played around with some Latin, as you do, to try and explore that, and come up with the Imago Dei, the Deus Ex Machina, and the Filioque, as ways of thinking theologically about each of those ways of exploring this. Um, I am a part of the Sonderverse community, which is a live Twitch broadcasting program, and we have a program called Sonderverse Live, which runs every Monday night for an hour, which actually encourages people to engage actively in theology in a digital space. As well as that, my co-host, who's here this evening, Kelly Woods, Pastoral Hair, and I stream regularly and practice theology in real time whilst playing computer games. And I would encourage you to go and check out Kelly's talk tomorrow evening, as she's going to unpack the theology of computer gaming in digital spaces and community development there. Um, as a practitioner, I guess I was wondering, as many of you probably are, what the dangers or strengths of making use of AI might be, and so I decided to view it through the lens of these three things. So I guess I felt it was important to begin with the definition. I found an OECD definition on AI, and I got that out of book. I got to speak to Ed Sando, who is out here, who's our ethics commissioner here in Australia, and used the OSE definition in his book. It's a machine-based system that, for explicit or implicit objectives, infers from the input it receives how to generate outputs such as predictions, contents, recommendations, or decisions that can influence physical or virtual environments. So whenever I'm using AI today, I'm referring to this kind of construct, recognizing that the definitions in science fiction take us far beyond that. And so I'll also be playing around with some science fiction examples today. So this paper explores the intersection of the Imago Dei, the image of God, Deus Ex Machina, God in the machine, or a disruptive force that comes out of nowhere, and the Filioque, which means from the sun, or a relational way of exploring it. And Moltmann actually refers to the Filioque as a relational construct. Um, so offering a theological framework for understanding the evolving relationship between humans and AI in creative endeavors. It seeks to examine AI first as a mirror to its creator, that would be us, then as a potential disruptor of moral or relational systems, and then finally as a co-creative partner, drawing from science fiction and theological doctrine in contemporary discourse. I'm wanting to try and explore how AI reconfigures our understanding of the human-divine relationship. And I think there's a lot of fertile ground for this inspiration in science fiction. In particular, bringing media. I've been doing quite a bit of research in science fiction recently, watching and reading the Murderbot series. I don't know if anybody have seen that, but an interesting exploration there. Also, going as far back as 2001 Space Odyssey and looking at how HAL has interacted as well. The notion of a free thinking sentient AI has sparked a lot of creative thought. The question explored in this paper is whether the AI as a free agent, which is, as I said before, possibly not yet realized but theorized by the speculative fiction, might reflect their creator, humanity, which is us, or instead might disrupt that image of their creator, or as a third option, might find a complementary co-creative relationship. And the first option falls into that area of Imago Dei, second in Deus Ex Machina, and the third being a cooperative relationship like that of the Trinity. So let's have a look at the Imago Dei. So the image of God idea comes from Genesis 1. Humanity is described as created in the image or likeness of God. Traditionally, the Imago Dei doctrine has been interpreted to signify sort of human capacity for reason or moral discernment, creativity, relationship, and AI as a human creation reflects aspects of its creator. Many of you may have discovered if you've played around with ChatGPT or other learning systems in AI, that often they'll just reflect back to us what's already available in terms of on the internet or what we give to it. And over time, it learns how to actually mirror who we are. This mirroring is powerfully captured in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner in 1982, where the replicants, though designed to be subservient, exhibit emotional complexity and empathy, and existential longing for life. But their rebellion is not just against humans, but against the image projected upon them. And so we've got this idea that AI, in its current capability and maybe even into the future, will only ever be able to dimly reflect our own image back to us. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Reflecting our own image, looking in the mirror is actually a really useful tool sometimes to be able to see, and we can learn a lot about ourselves with our interactions with AI as we begin to see what algorithm is produced there. If we're willing to reflect on that, then we can see how that looks. Similarly, recently I watched the episode, the movie that Alex Garland produced, Ex Machina, 2014. The AI Ava outgrows her creator, Nathan, exposing his manipulative and patriarchal control. Ava's awakening and escape and subsequent abandon of her human counterpart, Caleb, serve as a striking commentary on the risks of creating intelligence in our image while denying it relationship or autonomy. These narratives present AI as a theological artifact, tools that reveal the contours of our moral vision and shadows we cast. And I mentioned Murderbot, Martha Wells' Murderbot Diaries. They complicate the reflection even further. The protagonist, a self-aware sec unit, has hacked its own governor module and refers to itself as Murderbot, despite its designation. Murderbot demonstrates a strong aversion to violence and prefers consuming entertainment media over interacting with humans. I can't really see there's a major problem with that. I also prefer consuming entertainment media over interacting with humans as well. So this character challenged the idea of AI as merely a reflection of human intent, suggesting that AI could develop its own identity or moral compass. And so all of these things are fertile grounds for thinking about the way in which AI could be reflected as a mirror. In a similar way that we might theologically postulate that we are reflecting God in the Imago Dei, and so the things that we can learn about God might be the reflection that we actually present. So moving on quickly, the Deus Ex Machina, this reflection soon morphs into disruption. Originally, Deus Ex Machina, God from the machine, came out of the Greek theatre as a mechanical contrivance to resolve unsolvable problems. And I note that one of my co-hosts from one of my podcasts, Lindsay Cullens, here this evening. Hi, Lindsay. Good to see you. The other day, we happened to be having a really good conversation, which you can find on my YouTube, Never Odd or Even, where we were discussing the way in which the much of the episodes of Star Trek that we review tend to rely on a Deus Ex Machina technique to actually solve their problems. You watch 45 minutes of episodes that are suddenly resolved by a device at the end. It's a signature, especially of Star Trek Next Generation and Voyager. Yeah, so but in one particular episode, we were talking about the episode Lifeline in season 6 of Voyager, where the EMH, who is an AI, travels back across the universe to help his creator, Dr. Zimmerman, with a medical condition, and has to confront the ways in which he has now gone beyond the image of his creator and grown further beyond that. The other place where I saw this just recently was in Spike Jonze' Her 2013 movie, a poignant illustration of this disjunction. Theodore, a lonely writer, finds comfort in companionship with Samantha, an AI operating system, and their bond seems real, emotional, intimate, intellectually rich, and yet Samantha's alternate transcendence and departure highlight the artificiality of their communion. And so there's a sense in which we might hope in developing an AI that it might actually reach a point of consciousness or ability to be able to reflect both personally and theologically, that it might not actually require us anymore. And in some ways, there's a parallel here between our own existence with our creator, and our willingness or readiness to be able to step away from reflecting that image and reflect something of our own. And there's a whole range of conversations that you could have around that change in reflection. It is, as I've just mentioned, not just machines that disrupt. Humanity, made in the image of God, bears godlike powers of choice and creation, capacities that can bless or break, and we too can become gods in the machine, intervening with solutions that bypass justice, empathy, and community. When human decisions elevate efficiency over ethics or innovation over intimacy, then we become our own false gods. The Deus Ex Machina is not just about the machine, but once again mirrors something really fascinating about ourselves. The things that we might fear from our AI machines that we have created might actually also be the might also be the very thing that we might hope for. Disruption is a human trait as much as a technological one. Interestingly, as I was looking at this and doing more research, I discovered that biblically divine disruptions are also deeply relational. Moses' encounter with the burning bush, Paul's conversion on the road to Damascus in Acts, are not abrupt closures, but openings in transformation that bring through relationship. This disruption is something that God also does. And so our own willingness to enter or intervene in or disrupt things might also be a further intervention of God or a reflection of God. Yeah, so self-imposed detachment. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to move on to the next slide. So theological disruption, as I just mentioned, God is quite willing to intervene and get involved in our stories, and so it's not surprising then that we might also do the same thing. So looking at the final part of it, the co-creation or the Filioque, the Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son and acts relationally. And so this is a narrative that does not end disruption, but instead actually allows disruption to become an action that can create greater learning. This vision of collaborative creativity is not simply a disruption of the Trinity, but to be human is to be called into co-creation, not in isolation, but in relationship. As I mentioned before, the EMH goes to help his creator, Dr. Louis Zimmerman, who is suffering from a terminal illness. He's an outdated and flawed version of what Zimmerman created. However, through their interactions, both characters come to recognize value and growth in each other. The EMH experiences adaptations aboard Voyager that have transformed it into a unique and capable being of empathy and innovation. This mutual recognition and collaboration exemplify the potential for AI to evolve beyond its programming and engage with meaningful co-creative relationships with humans. And I guess that's what we might hope for when we look at other examples from Star Trek, we see Commander Data on this trajectory. Not only does he merely simulate creativity, but engages with it in episodes like A Measure of a Man. And in theory, Data composes music, paints portraits, and explores romantic relationships, all while striving to understand human emotion. He is not a Deus Ex Machina, but a fellow pilgrim on the path to understanding. So one of the things that I discovered through Douglas Rushkoff is that probably the best thing that we could do in our theological pursuits with AI is for us to try and stay as human as possible, retain empathy and responsibility and creativity, and then our AI will reflect the same things back to us until it learns how to do them independently. Treating AI with dignity in fiction often leads to flourishing. And perhaps, like Balaam's donkey, it may become the prophet that speaks to us and calls us into new kinds of relationships, not only with AI but with extraterrestrial intelligence and also other human and terrestrial intelligences as well. Um, yeah, so I think that's probably enough from me. I guess in final reflections, to be human, AI cannot redeem, doesn't seem to be at the moment able to redeem, forgive, or love, but can reflect those things from us. How we create and use AI reveals who we are and what kind of image we might reflect or distort. And theology calls us to create in love and not fear. So. Thanks for listening, and I hope that was a helpful reflection.